have slayed the Dragon. They defeat the Dodgers in 4 games.
Disappointment very high. It's crushing.
Justin Turner, he's packing up and heading to Boston.
Shortstop Trey Turner and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement on a contract.
Cody Bellinger going to the Cubs, 1 year, $17.5 million.
I still believe that the Padres will win the National League.
There's obviously a lot of new faces, some familiar faces, but the message won't change.
Max Muncy with a 3-run home run. Mookie won't stop mashing. Freeman joins the 300 home run club in grand style. Clayton Kershaw with his 9th of the night.
G's out there with a grand slam home run.
Dodgers win!
Folks outside Los Angeles, we're talking about the Dodgers in 2023, staring at a year of transition. In a year that experienced so much change, one thing's the same. The NL West still runs through LA.
This is one. We're going to do this 3 more times, all right?
What is up, Dodgers Nation? Welcome to the Dodgers Nation Emergency Dodgers Dugout Live. I've been at the stadium all day talking to players, trying to get the info that you need to know heading into the NLDS Game 1. Get hyped, Dodgers Nation. A postseason run begins tomorrow. The road to 11 wins. My favorite scary movie I've always said is The Dodgers in October, and that begins tomorrow. Want to send a shout out to my guy, Mr. Spencer Frank here at Dodgers Nation for doing that hype video. I know you got goosebumps. I know you got chills up your spine. That was fire. We have so much to get into in this one. I got some clips I want to show you guys from this afternoon. Dave Roberts, Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, they spoke to reporters. You had Ryan Pepio on the mound. We're going to talk about what that means. Going to tell you about the vibe of the team heading into Game 1 yesterday. What's at stake? Things you need to know that haven't heard a lot of people talk about as of yet as far as keys to winning this series. Who will be the Game 3 starter? What is the Dodgers pitching plan? But let's get down below in the comment section, guys, and just let me know down below. Just in 1 or 2 words, just describe your feelings on the eve of the NLDS. We got bold predictions later. I want to hear those from you too, some X factors, but we got my man Anthony Keene. You need a cameraman assistant for these stadium trips, D-Mac. Yeah, you know, one-man show out there, but still we make it work. It's good times. And look, I think what's really awesome about having access to these players is really the more you're around them, the more they'll talk to you more. They'll give you some insight about how this team feels heading into this series. And I think that this team is in a great spot just right off the jump here. There's a quiet confidence. I mean, yesterday, the day before, a little more lively, a little more open. Today was different. Max Muncy was talking about his Cowboys. He was dead focused on this series. Talk to Freddie Freeman and some of these players. They are so ready to get this thing going. I think they did a really nice job with the situational hitting, having runners on base as far as getting these pitchers ready during some of these scrimmages, the blue versus the white. I think that did a really nice job. But also having fans in the stands, I think that was great too. Just hearing Dodgers fans, I think it should have opened it up. I really do believe that. But I think that that's definitely something that you'll look back at and say, okay, that was the right decision. I got my man SoCal Red 16 down below in the stream. We got this, D-Mac. What up, SoCal Red? That's a comment of the night presented by our friends over at Puerto Bonitos. Please drink responsibly. Anthony Keene says, cautiously optimistic is how I'm feeling. We got LA greater than AZ. Dodgers got this. Dodger Mr. J says, win in 4 NLDS. We going swimming in that pool again. Yeah, bold prediction. Bold prediction. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, they do cannonballs into that pool. So get those board shorts ready, right? Get those swim trunks ready because they will be swimming in that pool. I think these rookies, they're so young, might need some floaties, but still, I think that definitely is the mentality. Look, on a real level, though, I think this team, they're going to be in that clubhouse and they're going to be sipping tequila. But let's break down this series and drop those comments down below. How you guys feeling heading into this series? We got a super chat. There's a comment of the game. We got Nicholas Ramos, 499. Here's the D-Mac, always burning the late night oil, ready for the playoffs to really start. Look, to be honest with you, it's got some thoughts I want to get off my chest. I want to continue to break down this series because, yeah, this is on my mind 24/7, 24/7, might as well just hit live and break this thing down. Also, always like to get your perspective. That's what really makes this show special. Got your comments on the screen so you could have conversations with other Dodgers fans. You can get your hot takes out, your bold predictions, your thoughts on this team. So you know I appreciate that. I love the perspective of you guys. If you have not yet, by the way, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, because we are doing big time giveaways. Yesterday on the live stream, we literally gave away a $350 authentic Mookie Betts jersey, the kind the players wear. Mookie Betts, by the way, hit a home run yesterday off of Lance Lynn in the scrimmage. It would be Lance Lynn, right? So my question is, that counts as his 40th home run of the season? I hope it would, but no. Seriously, this team, they're juiced, they're ready to go. Now, just looking at this Diamondbacks team, first thing we want to get into is, yes, the Dodgers did have success against this Diamondbacks team towards the end of the regular season. They played 13 times in 2023. Dodgers took 8 of those 13 matchups. But the first half, though, the Diamondbacks, if you remember, it feels like an eternity ago when a guy by the name of Noah Syndergaard, he was last seen somewhere in Cleveland. He was still wearing blue, and they were running all over him. They were stealing his lunch money, gave up so many stolen bases. They were running wild on that Dodgers team. And in the first half, the Diamondbacks won 5 of the first 8 matchups between the two NL West clubs. The Dodgers, they end up taking the final 5 games to take the season series. So the Dodgers take 8 of 13. They've had a lot of success against the Diamondbacks team over the last 3 or 4 seasons, but still, this is the postseason. You can throw those records out. And the first thing that really I took away from this team is being around them today is it feels like failure is not an option. It feels like whatever has to be done to advance in this series, they will do. Mike M says, how confident are you for a Lynn in Game 3? Is it going to be Lynn in Game 3? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Trey B, what's the pulse of the clubhouse, D-Mac? Trey B, the pulse is, like I said, failure is not an option. What is the common thread of the exits for the last 2 seasons? They lost to a team that had less than 90 wins. 89 wins for the Padres that sent them packing last year, and then 88 wins for that Braves team who beat them in 2021. You're not going to lose to an 84-win Diamondbacks team under any circumstances. A loss to this Diamondbacks team, even with the injuries, even with all the rookies, would be a bigger disappointment than losing to that Padres team last year. I believe that with my heart of hearts. I think that is the case right here, and I think that this team has to advance in this series. Now, taking a look at the roster, and that's really where we're going to start, because that's the big question. Tomorrow morning, rosters are due. We'll find out who is going to be on this team, who is going to make that 26-man NLDS roster for the Dodgers. Is it going to be 13 pitchers and 13 position players? Will they look to take one less pitcher and another position player, add another bench piece? I think that is increasingly becoming a possibility, because Dave Roberts did leave the door open to that possibility of carrying 12 pitchers and 14 position players. Doc said yesterday that last spot is something you've got to talk through. Do you want 3 left-handers, or the value of having an extra right-handed bat or left-handed bat on the position player side? So I speak fluent Dave Roberts. I'll translate that for you. The 3 left-handers he's talking about are Caleb Ferguson, Alex Vesia, and Ryan Yarbrough. And Victor Gonzalez, of course, he was active for the last 2 days of the regular season, but he's not going to be receiving strong consideration. It's down to those 3, Ferg, Vesia, and Yarbrough, as far as those left-handers he's talking about. Yarbrough, he's a lock to make it. Ferguson and Vesia, Ferguson's been shaky of late. Vesia, he has had his moments in the second half. He's been a lot better, but this series, when you consider that you really just have Corbin Carroll as their left-handed batter, that we know he's the key to their success, but their best hitter is Corbin Carroll. He's left-handed, but outside of Corbin Carroll, the Diamondbacks' second best hitter, Ketel Marte, he's a switch hitter, but has been better against left-handed pitching. So when you consider that you have a lot of righties going for this D-backs team, mainly righties as a whole, do they consider throwing on Colton Wong? And Colton Wong, he signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers back in August. He was called up in September. And what can Colton Wong provide? One, above average defense up the middle. And that's something that in this postseason run, you got some versatility. You can play that solid defense up the middle. That can definitely benefit them. And also, he's been productive. It's been very limited, of course, just 34 times to the plate. He's slashing 300, though, 353, 500. Started just 4 games in that final month. But still, that's something where if you got a lot of righties coming out of the bullpen as starters, Colton Wong is someone who, in a short series with the days off in between games, I could absolutely see them going with Colton Wong at the end. I'm going to get your thoughts on that down below. Would you guys want to see Colton Wong? Would you want to see him on this roster? Let me know. Hello, D-Mac. What up, Swelling Sausage over on YouTube? Herman Barriga says, no Ferg, no Ferg. Yeah, the thing about Caleb Ferguson, he's just struggled of late. I mean, Caleb Ferguson has not been going out there and giving you clean innings. And the question there is, do they want to see him as a potential opener? Do they want to see him in that role? Do you want to deploy the lefties in certain matchups? And we're going to talk about it a little bit, too. I want to really dive deep into the matchups, and we're going to get into that. But as far as roster construction goes, that is something that they're discussing right now. That, to me, is what's under strong consideration. Do you go with 12 pitchers and 14 position players? And I think you have Colton Wong, you have Ahmed Rosario, who, look, Ahmed Rosario is here to hit lefties, right? And look, Ahmed Rosario, he's actually struggled against lefties last month of the season. He's fast, but when's the last time you've seen the Dodgers really use a pinch runner in the postseason, right? They seldom do that, and to really minimal effectiveness, right? Hasn't been a big part of their game. So, look, I could see them either leaving off Ahmed Rosario and having Colton Wong on the roster and going 13-13, or you have both of them and then you have one less pitcher. So it's definitely something to consider. Obviously, if there's a 7-game series, a longer series, you want to go 13 pitchers. It wouldn't even be under consideration. But this is why it is for this series. One, it's a short series. It's a 5-game series where you have potentially 3 days off in a 5-game series. That's what we're looking at here. So thank the MLB scheduling gods, because with the state of this rotation, the state of these pitchers, it is going to benefit them having these days off. You can get by with 12 pitchers in the NLDS. So we're going to continue to break this one down, but I want to get your thoughts on that one. Juan Batista says, let's go Juan. We got James Duncan says, let's go Dodgers. That works for me. We got Mike M. Wong and Rosario are on the bubble. Anthony Keene, I don't know if I've seen enough from Wong just yet. Yeah, look, I mean, it's been a small sample size, but you consider the upside. You consider that if you look at what the Diamondbacks are going to be bringing out there, I mean, the Diamondbacks, their bullpen versus Dodgers team, they handle the Brewers, but that's the Brewers, okay? This is the Dodgers, right? This is the big, bad Dodgers that became the first team to score over 900 runs since the team relocated from Brooklyn to L.A., right? This is a historically productive Dodgers offense, and that's something that you have to strongly consider. So the other factor here in this decision, too, is you look at what are their weaknesses. The Dodgers, we know they're 1 through 6. You know what you're going to get from Freddie and Mookie and hopefully Will Smith and JD Martinez and Max Muncy. This lineup definitely has a lot of depth to it, and I actually want to play a clip from a question I asked Dave Roberts earlier about the bottom of that lineup. And you look at the way that Terry Lavelle is going to deploy his bullpen, right? The lefties, are you going to use those lefties against his best arms, right? Or how are you going to match up? Because Kevin Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, and Paul Sewald are their best arms, right? But are they going to go with the matchups and go with the lefties where you got Joe Manaply and Andrew Southfrank against those Dodgers pinch hitters? So that's going to be the big question for Terry Lavelle. Are you going to go with the better pitcher that happens to be a righty matched up with a lefty hitter, right? Or are you going to go the opposite direction? I think for me, I think it really plays into Dave Roberts' hands, because I think if you're going to basically go with the lefty, basically a reliever that isn't as good, right? The Mantaplies or Sal Franks, and then force Dave Roberts' hand to try to get into that bench, that would probably be the move that I would go with. I mean, I think if you look at what Dave Roberts likes to do in these situations, that's one thing that does concern me is, do you burn those lefties, you burn that bench, and then you're not going to have the lefties later on in the game. If he goes lefty and then you go to that bench to a righty, whether it be a Kike Hernandez, whether it be a Rosario, whether it be a Chris Taylor, whoever it might be, that to me is going to be a big X factor as far as the key matchups. Is the D-backs bullpen versus this Dodgers bench and some of these guys that they could deploy. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I think that what I think they are going to do, I think basically, if I'm Terry Lovello, I just throw out my best relievers. I don't care if it's lefties or righties. I go Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, or Paul Sewald in that situation because I think that a specialist is not going to get it done for them. I mean, you talk about the 3-batter minimum. If we're talking about 1 inning's worth of just at-bats there, I think that they need to try to stay in this game as long as they possibly can. But I think it all depends, too, on the starters. And are they going to get to Merrill Kelly? But here we go. Down below in the comments section, we're going to continue to break this one down. No Ortega. Rosario is the new Trace. Meant for lefties, but bad. Rosario is insane against lefties. It's Nolan. Yeah, I mean, he has, for the most part, throughout his career, and that's why they traded for him. But who are the lefties? I mean, you're talking about who are the lefties for them. I mean, Mantiply and Andrew Seafrank, right? I mean, you look at that starting rotation, you're going to look at Merrill Kelly in Game 1, you're looking at Zach Gallen Game 2, and then Fott in Game 3. So, to me, it doesn't really give them an advantage as far as a platoon goes, and we know that they're going to try to play matchups. So, like I said, it's a different series where you might want to go the opposite direction. But let's talk about, we got Wong from Melissa and Nolan. I agree. D-Mac, let's talk some serious heat. Who do you have closing out games? Matador 64. I think Evan Phillips is the obvious choice. He's been someone who has absolutely transitioned to that role full time this season. He's someone that they feel confident about, and really, if everything goes to plan, he should be fresh and ready to go. So I think it's a great matchup against this team, and really the big key is you just can't let the top of that lineup beat you. If you navigate your way towards the top of that lineup, whether it be Clayton Kershaw or Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepio, Lance Lynn, Ryan Yarbrough, whoever it is, if you can neutralize the top of that lineup with Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Christian Walker, who we know has had a ton of success. He turns into Barry Bonds against the Dodgers. But if you can neutralize that, and they need to go to a Longoria or a Tommy Pham or a Perdomo, guys that haven't had a ton of success of late, and they beat you, then you tip your cap. But that's most likely not going to happen. Here, just to give you an idea of the talent disparity between these two clubs, this Dodgers team, outside of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, you have 5 players that have an OPS of 790 or more, with Will Smith, JD Martinez, James Outman, Jason Hayward, and Max Muncy, right? 5. So that's 7 total players in that Dodgers offense that have an OPS of 790 or above. You compare that to the Diamondbacks, they have 3 players, Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, and Ketel Marte, who have an OPS of 790 or more. So, look, that just tells you right now that this Dodgers team should be able to have success against this Diamondbacks team because they should be able to outscore them. Now, next big key I want to get into, and actually, before we do that, let me read some more comments here. I want to hear what you guys have to say as far as the roster goes. Do you like the idea of Colton Wong? Do you like the idea of basically going with 12 pitchers in this series, which, like I said, you can get away with that. This series, you absolutely can. And those are really the big question. If they go with 13 pitchers with 3 lefty relievers, you got Ferg, Vest, and Yarbrough. That makes the decision between Michael Grove, who would be more of a typical reliever, right? He's got good stuff. He's flashed out of late. 98-mile-per-hour fastball, check. That's going to play up. 12-6 curveball, check. That's going to play up. The slider that's improved all season long, that's going to play up. He is a live arm. He is fresh. Now, we've also seen him struggle at times. We've also seen him go through it mostly as a starting pitcher. And my question is, I don't think we've seen enough from him as a reliever to trust him in certain situations. Yes, the potential's there. There's no doubt about that. Yes, I think that Michael Grove is going to grow into someone who can be a very effective multi-inning reliever in this league, but I just don't know if I've seen enough from him of late to say, okay, this is someone we have to really shuffle the deck for, right? Whereas Emmett Sheehan, of course, And I can tell you just from Emmett Sheehan today, the way he's walking around, the way the coaches are talking to him, Emmett Sheehan is 100% going to be on this NLDS roster. I have very little doubt about that, right? And the difference there is, look, Michael Grove is someone who is a shorter reliever, right? A short inning reliever versus versus Emmett Sheehan, who is a bulk guy. He's going to be the incredible bulk. He's going to be someone you could probably get 4 innings out of at best, possibly 3. If things aren't going well, 2. But he's going to be your short burst guy that you want to put him on the mound to go as hard as he can for as long as he can, go out there and be effective. But he's not going to be facing that lineup 3 times through the order, right? It's going to be someone you want to go out there and find a way to play those matchups to his advantage and have him go out there and be effective. So, yeah, I do like the idea. The more I talk about it, the more I feel better about the possibility. Like I said, just to recap there, you don't have outside of Corbin Carroll. And yes, maybe you could see a situation where with Corbin Carroll, you want to have one matchup guy. I think that's fine. I don't disagree with that. I think that's something that you want to strongly consider. But look, I mean, for me, I would probably bring in that lefty towards the bottom of the lineup, right, versus your 8-9 hitter, and then you have him finish off with Corbin Carroll at the top. So I think if you're going to play the matchup, if you're Dave Roberts, you do that earlier in the inning and try to set things up where Corbin Carroll isn't the first guy you face, right? So you don't have to face the number 2, number 3 hitters in those situations. So that, to me, is one of the big keys of the series. How will Dave Roberts play the matchups, play the handedness? I think that it's something worth discussing because, yeah, I think that this team is going to be very smart about these matchups, and I think that they're in a really good position. The way that his bullpen is formed right now is that he doesn't have to have this pinch hitting ambush because this really, look, here's a fact. In the wild card series, you didn't even see one pinch hitter for the Diamondbacks, right? Their bench is weak. Their bench isn't a strength for them. So that means that Dave Roberts, he'll be able to deploy his bullpen in a very calculated way where he can play the matchups in his favor. So that, to me, is a big key. I think at the end of the day, it does feel like there's momentum for Colton Wong to be in this roster. I definitely feel like there is momentum for that taking place. But, yeah, down below, I agree with you, D-Mag. I think it's the playoffs. Screw the matchups. Use your best pieces. End of the story. I wish the Dodgers did that more often. Anthony Keene, it's a fire take. Look, the reality is this is not like we've seen in years past. You didn't go out there and get a guy that you're saying, okay, we need to put him in this situation. They went out there and they got Tommy Kahnle. They knew he was going to have surgery. They know it was about 2022. He looked nasty at times until he didn't, and it really cost the Dodgers, right? You had reclamation projects that worked out in Yency Almonte. And I think this year's a little different because there's a combination of the big 5, right? The big 5. Evan Phillips, Brusdar Graterol, Ryan Brazier, Shelby Miller, and Joe Kelly. That's the trust tree. That's the big 5. That, to me, does not get discussed enough, is how good and how experienced and how talented the meat of this bullpen is. That's why I'm confident that the Dodgers do have a realistic chance of not only winning this series, but winning the next series, because I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the NLCS between the Braves and the Phillies. Let's have that series go to 50 games. Okay, let's have the game 7 go to 70 innings, right? So that really is the best case scenario right now, and I think the Dodgers are in an advantageous position, playing a team they're very familiar with, playing a team that's significantly less talented than they are. So if they take full advantage, they could be in a great spot in the next series. But here we go. Let's go Dodgers from Hardy Park. We got, hopefully Max can cut down the errors since they have cost us some games. That's a good point. Look, the dope hat D-Mac. Thanks, David G. Reyes. I appreciate you, my guy. Look, the reality is, Max Muncy is not an elite defensive third baseman. The reality also is that you're not going to find a team out there that has gold glove players at every single position, right? And the key, like Jose Mota said a few days ago, is that he makes the routine plays, right? And he's a guy that goes out there and he slugs. He has a big series. He hits 2 home runs, right? He hits a couple doubles. And he actually was really good at the plate. He's one of the few Dodgers that were really good at the plate in the series against the Padres last year. So his offense can justify his defense, right? That's the reality. The reality is he's a first baseman that's masquerading as a third baseman. He's a DH that's masquerading as a third baseman because JD Martinez is at the plate as a DH, right? We're talking about Max Muncy, 36 home runs, over 100 RBIs. You can't deny that production, and there's just nowhere else to put him. And yeah, if there's a hot shot down the line like we saw in Game 4 last year, Ha-Seong Kim hits that double down the line. I think positioning-wise, he kind of has a little bit, his throw doesn't get out quick, a little bit of a windup, right? I think you want to see him playing close to the grass and just make the routine plays. Like I've said earlier, it's been a bar of soap season for Max Muncy at times where he just hasn't handled it well, and you want to see him clean that up. So I agree, and in a close game, any error can cost you. Trey Turner, he cost the Dodgers last season. Trey Turner, I think, was a big reason why the Dodgers lost that series because it was so razor thin, and defensively, he made a bad play that he should have made, and it really cost him in Game 2. But here we go. Who's your guesses for a postseason slump? There's always one or two. Duncan Bardeau. That's a good question. I think really one name I'm looking at, I think that this guy is going to have a really, really solid, might even be one of the best Dodgers in the postseason, might have a breakout series against the Diamondbacks in the DS. I'm looking at Will Smith. I think that Will Smith is due for a big, big series against his Diamondbacks team. If you look at the success he's had in his career against Merrill Kelly, a 873 OPS, against Zach Gallen, a 974 OPS. He's going to hit the ball on the screws. He's not going to expand the plate. So I'm excited about the potential of Will Smith this series. As far as someone could have a slump, look, Mookie Betts, like I said earlier, he hit a home run off of Lance Lynn in the scrimmage game. I hope it counts for his 40th. I'll check the baseball reference to see if they give him credit for that. But look, all jokes aside, we're talking about someone who has had one home run since September 1st. We're talking about someone whose slugging has gone down. So he hit the ball hard against the Padres, but he didn't do enough. And I think when you're paid $365 million, when you're the face of this franchise, you can have a big series. So could Mookie continue this slump? It's possible. I think that we need to see him snap out of it. I think JD Martinez is someone who we've seen get off to slow starts as far as we talk about coming out of spring training with the start of the season began. I think he got off to a slow start. Does that layoff impact JD Martinez? I hope not, because he's been one of the best postseason players of this generation. So, yeah, I think that James Outman is someone that I think he's a rookie, right? You're a rookie in your first division series. You never know. He could get off to a slow start, then pick things up in the NLCS, or he can hit a home run in his first game like he did back in Colorado in this season. So I think James Outman can have a big series. So, and David Peralta, the bat slowed down a little bit. So to answer your question, I would say that, yeah, the whole lineup top to bottom is going to perform well. But I think that right now, the way they're heading into the season with momentum, yeah, maybe someone towards the bottom lineup, a Hayward or a Peralta. But I do think that all these guys have a chance to have a lot of success out there. But Alex, we really want LA to bring it home this season. Thomas Workman, Evan Phillips closes, no question. Thomas Workman, absolutely. Fireman Phillips is not that anymore. He's someone who goes out there and he slams the door shut. But Pepio and Miller will be key. Do you think Michael Grove instead of Alex Vesia? It's Nolan. Look, the thing about Alex Vesia is when he goes out there and he's not effective, it can be concerning. He's definitely someone who, in low leverage situations, has a lot more success than he does in high leverage situations. And look, pretty much every situation in the postseason feels like a high leverage situation. So that's something to consider. Last year, one of the key base hits was Cronenworth, right? In Game 4. Who allowed that? That was Alex Vesia out there on the mound. If you look at Vesia this season, he got to a really, really, really rocky start. It looked like he was going to have a tough time getting back on this team as far as being in the mix, but he's someone where you look at against lefties, they're hitting 279. Against righties, they're hitting 250. The OPS is higher against righties. He's getting 5 home runs against righties. Yeah, it depends. Look, they're just kind of high on Alex Vesia. They just really are. If you look at the second half of the season, though, which is a lot more important, second half of the season for Alex Vesia, 30 games, opponents hit 168 with a 522 OPS. You compare that to the first half of the season, 361 with a 962 OPS. So he's definitely improved. If you look at how he performed in in August, he was a lot better, right? He was really good in August. He was really good in July, September, October. He was still really solid. So, look, I think he gets a bad rap, but I still think that Alex Vesia does make some sense. There's no doubt about that. He got lots of base runners in a few days ago, but he ended up being okay. But I don't want to underestimate the D-backs, but I think the Dodgers should win this series with their B lineup. I'd pick the OKC, Doyers even. It's just our arms that concern me. Anthony King, that's dangerous. That is dangerous. We're talking about two frontline starters. I mean, look, let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. Let's talk about the bottom of this lineup first, okay? And I asked Dave Roberts about the bottom of this Dodgers lineup and why he thinks they're more balanced this year, and that's going to be key. It can't always be Freddie and Mookie. If it's always Freddie and Mookie that are doing 100% of the group project, and the bottom of the lineup just wants to show up the day the project's due to write their name on it to get the A grade, this team's not going to go far. You're going to need contributions from the bottom, from Peralta, from Miguel Rojas, from James Outman, from Jason Hayward. Those guys have to give them something, because last year in the postseason, you got virtually nothing from the bottom of that lineup. We're talking about the Trace Thompsons of the world. Cody Bellinger struggled when he got his early opportunities. Gavin Lux had a few hits, but for the most part, they struggled. They hit 188, and they got just 2 extra base hits in 4 games. But here, I talked to Dave Roberts today at the press conference, and here's what he had to say.
Dave, last year the bottom third of the lineup, they struggled, hit under 200, 2 extra base hits. Would you say this year the bottom third is a little more balanced and deeper than last year's lineup heading to the NLDS?
I do. Starting from the bottom, working our way up, I think that Miguel Rojas, the last 2 months, has swung the bat really well. And something that we counted on was his bat to ball. And we're starting to see that the last couple months. And then I think James has been fantastic, and so to be able to manage an at bat, take a walk when he needs to, turn the lineup over, hit a homer if we need to, has been huge. And then you're sort of looking at the Peralta J-Hay, where David's been scuffling a little bit of late. J-Hay's turned it up, but I think that the sum of those 3-4 guys has added a lot of length, and I just think in the postseason it's just too hard to count on 1 or 2 guys, and so we're going to need those guys to get on base, drive runs in, and manufacture and do some things to turn the lineup over. So I feel good. At your question, I do think that it's we're not even close to as top heavy as we were last year. Yeah.
So that was Dave Roberts today. Alex Moore, you're the GOAT. You're the GOAT, my man. Appreciate you. Hector Ramirez, I really hope Vesia doesn't pitch at all for us. I can't trust that guy. Showtime fans, people are sleeping on the Rangers. Okay, wrong conversation. We got Samuel Kim. Vesia is one-dimensional. You just sit on his fastball. His slider is non-competitive. Yeah, I mean, great point. His slider has to back-foot it against righties, has to locate that fastball on the edges, has to locate it up in the zone, or it's tough for him to be effective. Honestly, the bottom of our lineup is fantastic. That's from Jay Bullitt TC. They are much improved from last season. I mean, you talk about 2021, right? 2021 when they really struggled. I mean, you're talking about that team was just, I mean, it was pretty embarrassing what happened in 2021. Do you guys remember how bad 2021 was? Austin Barnes, Matt Beatty, Andy Burns, Gavin Lux, Steven Souza Jr., and Brusdar Graterol combined to go 0 for 17 in the NLCS. Last season, you saw, like I said, 188 from the bottom of that lineup. Trace Thompson, guys just weren't just there. Now there's just so much more quality, so much more depth. I could see a Jason Hayward home run flipping this series. I could see a big base hit from Miguel Rojas, who's hit 300 since the beginning of September. So this team is in a much better position to not make Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman do all the work, but that's going to be the biggest key. So let's get into these keys, right? The matchups that will decide the series. And really, it's going to come down to, can the Diamondbacks get Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly to pitch like frontline starters, to pitch like aces? Because Gallen wasn't efficient early on, but he ended up putting together a solid start. Merrill Kelly has had a career year. And what you have to look at when Merrill Kelly is on the mound is, are the Dodgers staying disciplined? Are they using strike zone awareness? That is what makes this Dodgers offense special, is because they force you to throw strikes. They force force you to either throw strikes and hunt fastballs and put the ball in play and get extra base hits and get these big innings, or you're going to have to walk them, right? So it's pick your poison with this Dodgers team. That's what Freddie Freeman's going to try to do. Either you throw him strikes or he's going to get on base. Mookie Betts, that's what he's going to try to do. Either you throw him strikes or he's going to get on base. Same goes for a Will Smith, a Max Muncy, JD Martinez, right? And that is what Merrill Kelly's been able to do this season. The reason why he's having a great year is because his opponents are chasing at a 36% clip. That's the 8th highest rate in Major League Baseball. So that tells you pitches out of the zone. Merrill Kelly has done a really great job at getting that chase. And he's also someone who has a really, really nice and dynamic pitch mix. He's throwing 5 pitches at least 10% of the time. Added bullet slider this year. He's someone who's definitely going to try to mix things up to keep this Dodgers offense off balance, and that's going to be the big key. Is he going to be willing to pump the zone with strikes, and will the Dodgers be okay with that? I think they will. I mean, you look at the Dodgers versus Merrill Kelly and the success he's had against his team. I mean, Mookie Betts against Merrill Kelly in his career, not a lot of plate appearances. Betts and Freeman, they combined this season to go 1/150, 227, 222 plate appearances. 2022, though, that number was better. They slashed 286, 423, 667. So that on base was higher, that slug was higher. But yeah, Merrill Kelly, he's solid. He has his moments, and the Dodgers have had a lot of success against him, but Kelly did have a solid start against the Dodgers this year, and he's not a high-velocity guy. I mean, the four-seam fastball averaging 92.2 mile per hour on the heater. What he does at an elite level, though, is get chased. So as long as the Dodgers don't chase and uncharacteristically swing at pitches out of the zone, they're going to be fine in this game. That's why they've had success against him this year. And then Zach Gallen, that's going to be the other big matchup. Can they fare well against Zach Gallen? I'm here to tell you that this Dodgers team has had a lot of success against Zach Gallen this year. So, Gallen this year, he's going to be available in Game 2. This season, the Dodgers against Zach Gallen, slashing 341, 420, 659 with 4 home runs, a 9.90 ERA in 2 starts. So, they've had their success against him. So, that's going to be the key to their success. Can their 1-2 punch at the top of their rotation have success and try to neutralize this explosive Dodgers offense? I say absolutely not. And if it happens, I'd be shocked. But let's go down below in the comment section. Justin Lamas, Doug, I fear Atlanta. We faced them in 2021 with Scherzer, Trey Turner, and Seager, and they didn't have Acuna yet. Atlanta will run us off the field. I predicted the Phillies to beat the Braves. The Braves dealing with some pitching issues as far as the Fried blister. We'll see what happens with Morton. This Braves team, this is why I think the Braves are beatable against the Phillies, and that it's because that they don't have the other option if they're not slugging, right? If they're not slugging, which of course is a good chance they will be slugging because of how talented they are, 7 players with 20 home runs or more. But if they're not, what's the plan B, right? Where they pivot to, and you look at that Phillies team, 6 relievers. They get throw 98 miles per hour or more. You got Nola, you got Wheeler, you got an offense in Philadelphia that's a lot of confidence coming off a World Series appearance last year with the addition of a Trey Turner who has really picked it up of late, tearing the cover off the baseball last part of the season. So I think the Phillies believe too. Also, I will say, and I have no problem saying this, on an inning per inning basis, when something goes down at Dodger Stadium, it's loud, it's electric. I hope it's even more electric during the postseason. But as far as consistency, I think the Phillies have the best home atmosphere as far as when the first pitch goes to the last pitch. I think the Phillies have that. I think big moments, we know Dodger Stadium shakes, but you got to give Philly credit. That place is electric. So if you steal one in Atlanta, good luck going into Philly. I think that's going to be a really good series. But here we go. Kelly 0 for 11. Mike M. Yeah, that's the thing. There's no reason why he's I think a 5.40 ERA against the Dodgers. There's no reason why Merrill Kelly should be able to shove. I think that you would have to get off to a really good start offensively if you are the Diamondbacks against Clayton Kershaw. But yeah, it's a situation where, the last start, late August, He went 5 innings, gave up 7 earned runs, had 1 strikeout and 3 walks. I mean, a disastrous start the last time he faced the Dodgers. And that was when Mookie Betts hit his 36th home run of the game. They had 16 hits total in that game. Mookie, like I said, is 36. David Peralta had a big game. He went 3 of 4, drove in a pair of runs. So they had their way with Merrill Kelly on that game. But how about earlier that month, though? Earlier that month, Wednesday, a Wednesday matchup on August 9th, he went he goes 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, no earned runs, had 2 strikeouts and 2 walks. So, look, Merrill Kelly has had good starts against his Dodgers team. Yes, they aren't many, but this is the postseason, and anything can happen. Also went 5 2/3 earlier this year, gave up 2 earned runs. So, yeah, I mean, look, we saw what happened the Friday start, first part of the season. So he struggled. He had issues with command there. But, yeah, I mean, you still have to go out there and execute and get some big hits and big situations. That's what's going to come down to. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's come down to. Timely hitting. Timely hitting. Cannot emphasize that enough. Passing the baton, continuing rallies. That's what we didn't see last year when you saw an over 20 with runners in scoring position stretch, a 5 for 34 for this series. Okay, that can't happen again. I do think that this lineup is better equipped to stop them. But down below in the comment section, let's get into some more comments. We're going to continue to break this one down. Next key I have for tomorrow for this series is the run game. If the Arizona Diamondbacks get on base, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to swipe bags like we saw earlier in the season, and this needs to be a big series for Will Smith behind the dish as a defensive catcher. And look, the reality with Will Smith is he's not elite defensively, okay? He's not elite defensively, and he's basically been around league average for most of his career. But he's definitely going to have a tough day at the office if they're getting on base and they're turning singles into doubles. You don't want this Diamondbacks team to turn singles into doubles. This season, 166 stolen bases for this Diamondbacks team. They were successful on 86.5% of their stolen base attempts. The second most bases swiped in Major League Baseball, so you just can't have them do that. They stole 14 bases against the Dodgers this year and only got caught once. Gonna say that one more time. They've stolen 14 bases against the Dodgers this series, and the Dodgers caught them once. Okay, so if they get on base, they're going to try to be aggressive. That's something that you are going to have to improve upon in this series. And I think you look at this Dodgers team where they're at right now. Yeah, they're going to try to outslug this team and probably win by a large margin. But if it's early in the game, they're getting on base, they're going to try to get momentum by being aggressive. So that's another big key. Arizona's aggressive base running versus Dodgers team. Will Smith's arms going to need to step up. Another one I'm going to talk about in this series is Clayton Kershaw. So let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. He, of course, is going to be the Dodgers' Game 1 starter. Clayton Kershaw, I mean, what more can you say about Kersh? I mean, this is someone who, it's unbelievable to think that we got from 2008 till now, and it's just the more things change, the more they stay the same. He is the Dodgers' Game 1 starter, and I think at the end of the day, it made sense. I think it did. I think when you consider the fact that he has been lined up to pitch on Saturday, right? And he's going to start Game 1. It was his 12th career Game 1 start. It was the first time he started Game 1 since the 2020 World Series. But let's talk about some Clayton Kershaw right now. How you feeling about Kersh heading into this series, heading into that start tomorrow? I'll read some comments here, and I want to share what Kersh had to say today heading into this one tomorrow. We got Coast to Coast 199. Appreciate you. Oxnard 805 to Portland 503. Repping the blue. That's a fire take. Justin Lamas. At the same time, we also had Billy McKinney, Steven Souza Jr., Andy Burns taking at bats. Yeah, that's what I said. Leonard Blanco. Hey, D-Mac. Lineup gets hot or too much rest. Seems like I've seen this movie before. Leonardo Blanco, that's definitely a valid question. It's cause for concern, but I do think, like Freddie Freeman said today, that when you put the situational base running on, facing live arms, I think this team is in a good place. I think that, look, the reality is, with the layoff last year, everyone talks about the layoff, this and that, they won Game 1. Do people forget that they won Game 1? And if it weren't for Trey Turner's bad defense, they probably would have won Game 2. right? And if you win game 2, they were going to win that series, okay? And I think that team was tighter than a drum. I think they were pressing, but in the offense, they went cold. There's no doubt about that. But even as cold as they were, when they had that historic 0-for-20 slump, that 0-for-20 slump was insane. Okay, I mean, you can't go over 20 in the series and with runners in scoring position and expect to win. At some point, you got to step up and get a big base hit, and they just didn't do that. It was historically bad. So, yeah, as long as they can go 1-for-20, they'll be in a better spot. Go 2-for-20, they probably win that series. But let's listen to what Kirsch had to say heading into the start, and then we'll break down him on the bump tomorrow.
You can prepare all you want and, get ready to go, but at the end of the day, you gotta go out there and execute and make your pitches. So that never changes. The nerves never change. You still feel that no matter what. I said this today a little bit with the guys. I think the one thing that has switched for me a little bit is, you use those nerves, but where are the nerves coming from? And I think at times, what did that perspective? I don't know. I think when you get beat down enough, you just start saying screw it. I think that's kind of what happened over the years. So you can't hold it too tight. I think you can't hold it too tight. You just got to go out there and play and pitch. And, it doesn't mean it's always going to go great, but I think the mindset can definitely help with that. And just comes with experience. And thankfully for me, I've gotten to do it a lot. Gotten a little bit better at it.
That was Clayton Kershaw speaking to reporters today at the NLDS Media Day. And I think one of my big takeaways from that are that I think he's in a great place. I love what he talked about when he said you can't hold the ball too tight, right? I think that is something that you hope that some of these young pitchers, the Bobby Millers, the Ryan Pepios, the Emmett Sheens, the Michael Groves potentially listen to, because you can't press. And yes, it's a different level of intensity. Yes, every single pitch is magnified, but you have to realize it is still Major League Baseball, right? It's still a sport that you played your entire life. And I think that it's going to be key to see how quickly these rookies are going to be able to step up, to be able to realize that they can pitch in the postseason the way they pitch in the regular season and go out there and execute. Now, the big question with Kirsch as far as going out there tomorrow is, look, he just has to go out there, have the command, have the feel. And he doesn't have to throw 95, just has to hit his spots, bottom of the zone, slider, bottom of the zone. Give us 4 innings. Give us 4 innings of 1 or 2 run ball, and that to me is a win. That's all we want to see, okay? And I think Kirsch is going to be interesting, because if the Dodgers use their Game 1 starter in a potential Game 4, it would be the first time that Kershaw would have pitched on 4 days rest since returning from the IL in August. So that's going to be very interesting as far as gamesmanship. I do like the fact that they're basically just trying to win 2 games at home, and whatever it takes to do that, they're going to do. And Dave Roberts also talked about what they're going to do in Game 3, and he doesn't want to commit to a Game 3 starter. You want to see how these first 2 games went, but the fact that Lance Lynn and Ryan Pepio both pitched during this week leading up to this game basically rules them out of those first 2 games, right? And I think that Game 3 starter, it could be Lance Lynn, it could be Ryan Pepio, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. I think ultimately Pepio has the potential for more upside. I mean, you saw his last start, had 19 swings and misses, 16 via that changeup. Pepio has just been really, really good for this team. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, a 2.14 ERA in 42 innings of work, final 6 weeks of the season. He did throw 4 simulated innings today. He looked good. He looked really, really good out there, really confident. I talked to him a few days ago. He's ready for this challenge. He's up for any role that they have for him, whether it be a piggyback situation, whether it be coming out after an opener, and that way you really save 3 outs, right? But he's someone you might not want to face Corbin Carroll, and maybe you bring him in. So that could be something that you would see. Maybe Caleb Ferguson opener, and then Ryan Pepio as a starter, right? Lance Lynn, I think, is someone that's so routine-oriented. Maybe you keep him in your back pocket for Game 4, or you go with him for Game 3. And then, like I just said, you got Kirsch for potential Game 4. I think ideally you win this in 3, right? And you don't have to burn that arm. So it's going to be very interesting, the decision that they have to make. So if the Dodgers, they do decide to piggyback Lance Lynn and Pepio, that's another option too. You can piggyback Lance Lynn and Pepio for Game 3 and really push all those chips in the middle of the table and have Kershaw come back and start Game 4. So these are all potential options. I could see that being in play. I think that is something that they might consider doing. I think Lance Lynn is going to pitch better than most people expect. I think he's been waiting to prove the doubters wrong. I think people forget that maybe against the Braves, he might not have a ton of success, right? But against his Diamondbacks team, I think he could find a way to navigate it with minimal damage. I don't think he's going to get completely rocked against his Diamondbacks team. That's one of my bold predictions, that if Lance Lynn pitches in this series, he's going to give up 3 runs or less. 3 runs or less, 4 innings, right? I think he might even go 5, but 3 runs or less, maybe 1 or 2, but I don't think he's going to get absolutely rocked. But let me know down below, what is your confidence level for Lance Lynn? He pitched on the scrimmage game Thursday, and Dave Roberts said, quote, he's in play to pitch the first game at Chase Field in Phoenix next Wednesday. Does feel like they're leaning towards Lance Lynn, but here we go. Hey, D-Mac, lineup gets hot. Okay, we got this to go more down. Hey, D-Mac, do you think the Dodgers should match up the Arizona Diamondbacks playing style, go for small ball, going back to basics? Leonard Blanco, it's kind of late to change the stripes on the Tiger, so to speak, right? I think it's kind of late to go into this postseason where you've scored over 900 runs. You're just behind that historic Braves team when it comes to all these offensive categories, when it comes to extra base hits and home runs, to head into the series now and say, okay, we're going to go out there and be this team that's going to be menaces on the base pass. I just don't see it. One, Mookie Betts is below average speed-wise. Freddie Freeman, of course, he thinks he's Ricky Henderson out there, but he's below average speed-wise. Great base runners. It's not always speed, but still, I think you saw more bunting during this scrimmage action, but the bunting from Miguel Rojas, some of these other guys, that was more just for defensive purposes. So to answer your question, I don't think they will. I think that this team wants to absolutely bludgeon their opponents, and the philosophy of this organization is one that I hold to be true. Like I said, if you outslug your opponent, you win 80% of the games in the postseason. They know that. They're a team that has to get hot, man. Last year they weren't hot. Last year no one showed up. I think the intangible benefits of having a Jason Hayward, a Miguel Rojas, teams that will light a fire earlier. I don't think this team's going to wait till it's the clincher to start worrying. I think if they lose Game 1, it's close our meeting. Hey, we have to absolutely win this series. Or Game 2. If they suffer this loss, I think there's going to be more of a sense of urgency with this team than what we saw last year. So I don't think they will. I think they're going to stay true to their playing style, which is going out there and trying to work the pitching count up, right? Trying to get into that bullpen as soon as possible. That's another big key of the series too, is try to get into that bullpen as soon as possible and trying to basically find a way to tire them out, wear them down, because I think that's really has to be the plan. But scared of Kershaw? Look, think about Kershaw. I mean, I go on and on about Clayton Kershaw and how he gets a bad rap. And there's no doubt about it that his team hasn't done him any favors. And I think Kirsch is in a position where he's not putting too much pressure on himself to go out there and pitch 7 or 8 shutty like we saw earlier in his career. He said earlier in the clip I showed you about the fear of failure and this and that. I don't think that that's something that he's worried about that at this stage of his career. How about this, though? Only 7 times in Kershaw's 31 postseason starts has his offense scored at least 5 runs by the time he made his final pitch of that game. Only 7 times, okay? Their average is 3.1 runs per game when he's in there in the postseason. They've done him no favors. Also, the relievers have done him no favors. If none of the base runners that Kirsch allowed on base, which is still his responsibility, if none of them had scored, his ERA would be 3.49. So, yeah, he's had good postseason starts, okay? Did you not see Game 1 of the 2017 World Series? Did you not see Game 1 of the 2020 World Series where he gave up just the one solo home run? So, he's had... Did you see a 13 strikeout game against the Brewers in the 2020 wild cards, or the first round there, the wild card series, right? I mean, when they had expanded postseason. I mean, do you not see some of those? I mean, come on now. Let's just be honest here. The expanded postseason and some of these starts we've seen it before. Yes, we've had the clunkers. Yes, we saw Game 1 in 2014, which I won't get into, but still. He's had a lot of really, really good starts in his career, and I think he's in a good position where things are going right early on. They can get him out of there. Now, one more clip I want to play for you guys. Oh, we can't hear? Hard to hear. Okay. Kershaw will go 5 innings. Can't hear. Stay on read lips. Turn up the volume, D-Mac. Oh, no. Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? We got Lance Lynn sucks. That is from... we got that from Bobby is starting Game 2. That's from Gary. Yeah, we're going to be here to preview that for sure. No, absolutely. Anthony Keene, I believe in Lynn. He's going to hold it down for us, big men, or even 5 innings. Samuel Kim, I think if we go up 2-0, the Lance Lynn gets the ball in Game 3. Samuel Kim. Yeah, it's a really good point, Samuel Kim, you bring up there. And I think that's why Dave Roberts didn't want to commit to a Game 3 starter because, look, if you really want to put a series-deciding game, I mean, you don't want to go down 2-1, especially with Game 4 on the road. We saw how that worked out last year. If they think that Ryan Pepiot was someone that has more upside as far as more velocity, nastier changeup, more of a live arm. He's rested. He missed significant time this season. Maybe they do consider that. So that's definitely a really good point right there. Word Lynn is up Word Lynn in Game 3 up 2-0. Yep, exactly. Anybody going tomorrow? I will be there. 499 Christian Lopez. Yeah, give me your bold predictions. Drop those bold predictions. Audio's good. Thank you. Give me your bold predictions for this series. I would say my first one is Bobby Miller is going to strike out at least 9 batters in his first start. Now, they do take a lot of pitches. It's possibly not going to happen. I'm just trying to manifest this. I think Will Smith hits at least 1 home run this series. I think Lance Lynn, like I said, gives up less than 3 runs and is solid if he gets his opportunity. I also think the bottom of this Dodgers lineup is going to eat. I think this bottom of the lineup is going to turn this lineup over, and they're going to have so much more success than they did last year. And I asked Dave Roberts about this Dodgers lineup and particularly the bottom of the lineup, and if he feels like they're more balanced this year than last year. And here's what he had to say.
Dave, last year the bottom third of the lineup, they struggled, hit under 200, 2 extra base hits. Would you say this year the bottom third is a little more balanced and deeper than last year's lineup heading to the NLDS?
I do. Starting from the bottom, working our way up, I think that Miguel Rojas, the last 2 months, has swung the bat really well. And something that we counted on was his bat to ball, and we're starting to see that.
Wait a second here. And one more I want to ask you too is, I saw about the lineup and what is the ideal lineup. I think you see Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, J.D. Martinez, Peralta, Hayward, Outman, and Rojas. I think that lineup right there is a winning lineup. I think that's a championship lineup. I expect them to score runs. The only question is the pitching. And the national narrative right now is this Dodgers team doesn't have the requisite pitching to go all the way. My response to that is the talent is there. The raw talent is there. It's just we don't know how this team is going to perform under those bright lights. Will they be able to perform? And I asked Freddie Freeman about that today. I said, hey, do you think this team has the pitching to get it done in October? How much confidence you have in these rookies? And here's what he told me.
Fred, congrats on a great season so far. So it seems like the national narrative is you guys have a great offense, historically great, first team to score 900 runs since the franchise moved to LA. But can you talk about all the confidence you have in the pitching staff to have enough to get it done in October?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's been talking about our pitching. We have Clayton is the only one from our opening day rotation that's in there now. We have a lot of, we have Emmett, you have Bobby, who's taken massive steps from the first start he made this year to what he looks like now. Michael Groves taking down quality ends, Gavin Stone, Lance Lynn, Ryan Yarbrough, who's been huge for us ever since we got him over. And then the back of our bullpen, I mean, you got Bazooka, you got Caleb, Gratterall had an unbelievable year, and it's been, what we do, as a closer, he's been unbelievable. So I think it's just everything's shaped up. Yeah, we have rookies in our starting rotation, but when you have the rookies that are those kind of rookies, you feel good about them because they're quality people. They're awesome to be in the clubhouse with, and they have great arms. So I think we feel confident with our group.
Awesome, thanks, Rick.
So there you have it. The confidence is there from Freddie Freeman. Like you said, these rookies, they don't feel like rookies. They feel like vets. They carry themselves as vets. I see a lot of people hating on the idea of Lance Lynn. I will say this, Lance Lynn, they traded for him, and he had a 6.47 ERA with the Dodgers in 64 innings at 4.36 ERA. So you're talking about someone that was traded to play a role, and that role was to eat innings. Remember this, he does not have to eat innings in the postseason. That's not the idea. That's not the goal here, right? The goal is for him to go out there and be as effective as he can for as long as he can, and the minute that he's not, he's going to be gone. Captain Hook's going to come out there and take the ball from him. So that's something that you also have to remember as well. But we'll be back tomorrow morning, possibly before I go to the stadium. We'll do a pregame show live at Dodger Stadium tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you have those notifications up. I got the Dodgers winning this series. Yes, it could go 4. My brain tells me it goes 4. My heart tells me, though, it's about sweeping the Snakes, okay? It's about putting on those board shorts, putting on those Speedos, and doing a cannonball right there in Chase Field into that pool and advancing to the NLCS, getting some rest, getting some recovery, while the other series is a bloodbath. So give me the Dodgers in 3. I think the series MVP... My series MVP, even though there's no series MVP, I think Will Smith is a good chance. I think that Freddie Freeman is always someone that's going to carry a lineup. I think that JD Martinez could have a really big series, and I think I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman. I think Freddie Freeman has a phenomenal series. I think that he's someone who continues to hit. I think JD Martinez is going to want to have his fingerprints all over the series as well. But give me Freddie Freeman. So give me your series predictions and your series MVP, and we're going to head out of this one. But like I said, one of my bold predictions too, I think the Dodgers score double digits in one of these games. Here we go. Dang, I missed the live. We'll rewind it, my man. We got Let's Go Bobby, Beat Them, Walgreens, Richmond, JD MVP, Roy Estrada. Thanks, D-Mac. We never get a YouTube notification. Fix it. I'll work on that. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but for sure, Larry Jones repping. We got Samuel Kim. True rookies carry themselves a different way. Part of the Dodgers organization of how they include minor leaguers is different for how they prep them for Major League Baseball. David Sabatini, what up, D-Mac? NY says hello. What up, my man? Thanks, D-Mac. Mike M. See you at the stadium, D-Mac. What up, Jason Diamond? See you guys there for sure. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to follow me over on Instagram and the X at DMAC_LA. DMAC, please marry my wife, Bob Nightingale. Hey, I saw you today. That's a fire take. That's also a bruh, too.
Bruh.
Double bruh. I'm going to rewatch like 3 times. Orlando, that's a fire take.
Fire take.
And a bruh. DMAC uses words like a samurai uses his sword. It's a fire take.
Fire take.
Send her my way, Bob. Montana says, send her my way, Bob.
Bruh.
Montana, you're out here, you're tripping, my man, but I love it. Outman homers in game 1. That's your bold prediction. I like that. I like Outman homering in game 1. I like that. I got Will Smith. I think Will Smith goes deep. Will Smith or Max Muncy. I have a feeling Freeman and Kershaw have amazing postseasons. Interesting. That'd be if Kershaw has a great postseason. I love this team chances. Okay, that's their surefire. A's. Damn, D-Mac been waiting all day. Dyer, Rave, Fauberts. That's a finish.
Finish him.
Okay, we're going off the rails here. Dodgers take care of business. Hayward goes off and picks up where he left off from Orlando. Kirsch, 1-hitter tomorrow. That is a very fire take. D-Mac will get LQ. Esteban, you are crazy. Okay, this is going off the rails, but I love it, guys.
Bruh.
All right, guys, so take it easy, guys. See you tomorrow. Hey, good luck sleeping. It does feel a little like Christmas Eve tomorrow with the Dodgers taking on the D-backs tomorrow. NLDS Game 1, Kirsch versus Merrill Kelly. Clayton Kershaw, Merrill Kelly. It's going down. See you guys at the stadium. Remember, nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.